out here sad. I'm not out here crying. I'm not out here like, oh my God, where is my man? I'm out here like, yo, when is the next trip? Let's go. And maybe while I'm out there, I'll meet my man. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Let Me Just Say This. If you are new here, hello, hey, welcome to the vibe, welcome to the tribe. Go ahead and subscribe because you are going to love it here. And if you are returning, hello, hey, honey, how are you? I hope you're having an amazing day today. And if you're watching on the YouTube, as you should, go support the channel, girl. Hello, I see you, you see me, you look good, me too. Let's go ahead and get into today. So if you've been following this season so far, you know that we are in our self-aware era, okay? That is the theme for this season. And today I want to do a little check-in with you guys because we are talking singleness and singlehood. I know y'all probably tired of me. I'm like, Naya, you always talk about this. You always talk about this. But I can't harp on this enough because so many people out there are either really struggling in their singleness and like unhappy, and there are people who are very happy. And I would like to announce and report to all of you that I am so very happy. And if you've been here for a while, then you know there was a time that I was not happy in my singleness, in my singlehood, that I really wanted a companion and I was really searching and seeking something out. And it took a while. We talked about this, like, I don't even know if it was last season or the season before, going through your lonely era. It took me going through a lot of those things to get to where I am now. And really what sparked this episode is an interview that Shan Boudram did. Shan Booty, if you don't know her, you probably do know her. She's everywhere. If you don't know who she is, you're living under a rock, but she is a very prominent dating and sexual health coach on social media and just in real life. She does a lot of amazing work. I even read her book, The Game of Desire, and I read that at the beginning of 2024 and I really enjoyed it. And she had an interview with an amazing and beautiful and wonderful actress that I loved in Orange is the New Black, Zosha Rockmore. And so watching this interview with Shan and Zosha really sparked a lot of things in my mind because I can relate a lot to Zosha's standpoint on this, and I'm going to explain that a little bit more later. But I'm very happily single, and I know there are a lot of you guys who are also out there happily single, but there are a lot of you who listen to podcasts like mine or other podcasts or watch certain things or seek out certain type of advice because you are not happy and single. But today I want us to focus on how to get to happily single and thriving. And I also want to touch on today the fact that even though you're single doesn't mean you are alone, okay? And then we're going to talk a little bit about the waiting season, the importance of the waiting season and the importance of being still in this time in your life where you want something really bad and it's not yet coming to you. And so we're going to touch on that as well. So let's go ahead and get into it. So let's start with this interview with Shan and Zosha. So Zosha was in a very high profile, kind of semi-public known relationship with actor Lakeith Stanfield, okay? And they did have a child together. They have a daughter. And then, things happen. They are no longer together. And Zosha went on the podcast with Shan and they discussed things like, the relationship, nothing like super crazy. But Zosha said this, and I found this to be extremely profound.
I don't feel no pressure about it. I don't feel embarrassed about it. I know this is silly, but I feel like you're never single if you're hot. I don't know if that makes sense. That is my $1 million take. Like, I'm bad. I'm not like, I'm single. Like, single has connotations. Like, people are like, oh, single. I'm like, you ain't got to worry about me. You're like, baby, I'm living my best life. Like, I'm cute. I'm outside, sample size, got a little cash, drink a martini. I'm not single. I wish I had a partner. Nah.
Girl, I don't know who needed to hear that. But you really are never single when you're hot. There's always somebody around. And don't let that be a word of discouragement to you. Don't let that be like, well, I'm not as hot as her, or I don't have as many resources, or I don't look as good, or Girl, let this be your sign that hotness comes from being happy. Hotness comes from taking care of yourself. Hotness comes from self-love and self-care. When you're taking care of yourself, you have an abundant, boundless amount of options, right? Now, are all these options good options? No. Do not misread me, okay? Not all of these options are good options, but that's just to say that, when you take care of yourself and you are attractive, no, there is never a time where you're truly alone. There's always someone who's trying to get at you. There's always someone who wants to get with you. Are these people always worthy? No. However, again, you're never single really when you're hot. There's always somebody around. There's always somebody around. Like, and you're never, and I really want to reframe that. I want to reframe that actually. You're never alone in your singleness when you are hot because there's always somebody trying to get at you. And you always have an opportunity. And there's this thing about like being single by choice. There are some people who say, you're not single by choice. You just haven't found the right person, or you just make bad decisions in men. And so that's why you're single. And it's like, so I'm being condemned because the options that are being presented to me are bad, or because the options that are being presented to me are not compatible with me. I actually had a conversation recently with a friend of mine, and he knows all about the Charlotte date. If you're not up to date, babe, go ahead and watch the last episode because I had a date in Charlotte, and while that guy's a cool guy, we just didn't fit. It just wasn't a good fit. And so while I'm talking to my friend who is a guy, right? He asks me, he knows that I went on this date and I've decided not to continue talking to this guy. And we're having a conversation about how, sometimes women may meet a guy or have a good guy presented to them and still not choose them. And I tried to explain to him that just because a man is a good man doesn't mean he's my man. Just because he's a nice guy and shows interest in me does not mean that we are actually compatible. It does not mean that we are a good fit for each other. It does not mean that we're going to make a good partnership. It just means he's doing what he's supposed to do, being a good man. If some men are being a good man for the sake of trying to get something out of a woman and not just for the sake of being a good person, then truthfully, there's no way he could be the man for me. Can't be my man. That's number one. But it just goes to show that you know, just because you are alone doesn't mean you don't have options. And just because you have options doesn't mean all your options are good for you. You still have to learn how to discern and weave through those options based on what you want out of this time in your life. And so, going back to the happily single thing, there is absolutely such thing as being happily single. And there's such thing as being like really intentionally alone because like I said, when you're hot, you're never alone. When you're attractive, you're never alone. Last year, I took time to be very intentionally alone single. Like, I'm single and not dating. I'm single and I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want anybody in my phone. I don't want a roster. It's just me, myself, and I. And I actually had to put effort into that because most of the time there's a man in my life. Most of the time there's a man that's pursuing me or wants to talk to me or is in my DMs or something like that. Like, it's not difficult to come across a man for me. Humble brag, but not really. I don't think it's difficult for most women to come across a man, to be honest, or a partner even. If we're just going to say people, it's not hard to find another person that's interested and open. Finding the right person, a different story. A different story. However, last year when I went through my intentionally single era, I had to get over. That was me getting over loneliness. That was me getting over being by myself, getting over the feeling of damn, like I want to text somebody. I want somebody to come cuddle. I want somebody to bump uglies with, but I need to focus on getting comfortable with being alone. And I think that's the biggest thing about being happily single. People who are happily single are also the people who are very comfortable with being alone. Like they really find peace in their solitude. These are the type of people who they're so comfortable with being by themselves that anyone who wants to come and be in their life can't compromise what they have going on their own. Like you can't compromise that type of person's peace. And you can't, come in and think, okay, well, this person may want me more because they're by themselves. No, they're really okay with being by themselves. And you have to be a positive addition to them. And I would also say that The same people who are single by choice and happily single are also the same people who tend to have an abundance of options. Like they have a ton of options. They just don't choose those options because maybe A, they have done a lot of self growth. And so they know what is right for them and what's not. And so they're less likely to just step into situations just out of seeking companionship. Or B, they simply don't want to be with someone. They just like being single and they just like whatever they have going on. And I think that's perfectly fine too. I think what's important about Zosha's stance on singlehood is that there are a lot of people who are very unhappy in their singlehood. There are a lot of people who are very unhappy with being single. And so it pushes them into more toxic situations because they're constantly looking and searching for someone. The thing is, you have to reframe your mindset. Just like she said, it's not like, oh, I'm single, poor me. It's more like, yo, I'm outside, I'm having a good time. I'm meeting new people, I'm discovering things, I'm discovering myself and what I like, what I don't like. And this is like a season of discovery for me. And I do believe that there are stages in being single, choices that you make in being single. Like I said earlier, being single by choice and being like intentionally single, like you want to stay single. You're